Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark's Backyard Birds, our first installment of going live weekly on the Thursday nights. And one of the regular lives that we do every month, of course, is whatever the month is and what's going on in the wild bird world. So tonight is January 2026 Wild Bird Update. I always like to give people a chance to get in, and these apps take a little time to get loaded and so people can join in. So first, let me introduce myself. If you guys are new, my name is Mark McKellar. I am a wildlife biologist who has been in love with birds and studied them for over 40 years, as I say in my opening video. And these YouTube has given us a chance to do what I do love most, and that's to teach people about birds and nature in general. That's what we're about. I and my wife Melanie, say hi. It's they are the owners of the Backyard Bird Center, a brick and mortar retail in a small shop in Kansas City, north of the river, and we've operated that now for 20 what how long have we been doing this 23 years. So, March will be our anniversary, 20 I think
24.
24th anniversary. Is that right?
Right.
Oh, two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
right.
right. It'll be, yeah.
March 1st.
March 1st, we turned keys as the owner of that, and we're very happy and proud of that history. And now with we have an online store, but the YouTube channel has really expanded our reach to you guys, and you got so many of you are really, really faithful followers, and we really do appreciate it. Believe me. The We always start, of course, by welcoming people in and encourage you if you're joining in. Please leave us a comment over there, and one, give us the name that you'd like me to call you by, because sometimes usernames don't mean much, but I'll call you that if the best I can. But if you let me know where you're checking in from, that really helps me when I'm answering questions, because of course you guys are checking in from all parts of the US, and it's wonderful, and so it helps me with that. So we appreciate you dropping those comments, and believe it or not, and of course those comments help us with the YouTube algorithm. People, if you're participating, it tells YouTube you guys are interested and supportive and that kind of thing. So we appreciate that. So we want to start, of course, by welcoming people in. Got to go way back up there. Sandy Dion was the first one in tonight. Sandy from Kankakee, Illinois. Thank you very much. Sandy's always good to see you on. And Lisa, working bulldog, yeah. Yes, for those of you, the color cover photo tonight for tonight's program is a wonderful capture of Lisa's of a blue jay in the snow that actually looks like it's tossing snow up in the air. I'm not exactly sure what that blue jay was doing, but it was a beautiful capture, and the blues and blacks against the snow it really was terrific. And thank you, Lisa, for allowing me to use pictures like that for you send in for me to share with folks. And oh, yep, I'm just me talking to you guys. Sorry. And Justin, thank you. So, hey, he's gifted another membership to the Backyard Birds community, and we appreciate that. And I don't know who he's gifted it to this time, but we really appreciate the support. That helps us out. Like I said, we between we get a little bit of money from YouTube, not a whole lot, but the online store sales, the brick and mortar store sales, things like that enables us to do these programs, and showing that little extra support like Justin's doing. We really, really
He
appreciate that.
gifted it to is it Terrell Cockerham?
Oh, okay. It gifted it to Terrell Cockerman. So if you didn't know, you've been gifted a membership. I appreciate that. Hello, Rick from North Carolina. Only day of the week you're up this late. Yeah, you get up early, man. I know you did all those years with the chickens and everything. You are certainly up with the chickens. My mother-in-law used to say about our son and daughter that they're up with the chickens and down with the night owls. And they don't, neither one of them slept very much. And that you've been up with the chickens. Hello, Carol and Jay from North Platte County. They're just north of the store here. Yeah, it has rained. It really rained today, which is really weird, because we've been so dry. Had this been a snowstorm, if the cold temperatures have been cold enough and this rain hit, we'd have had buttload of snow, as we say. But yeah, it really rained today. There's supposed to be some snowflakes by morning, I understand, but it was 63 degrees today, so obviously it wasn't going to snow. Yeah. Hello, Andrew from Cincinnati, Ohio, another very, very regular supporter. And you can see that little symbol by his name up there. That means he's been a member of the support group and over a year now. And we appreciate that continued support. Hello, Boston guy. Good to have you in. Another very regular participant. Cape Ann, hello from Rockport, Massachusetts. Welcome in. You're not like too far from Boston guy there. Mark and Melanie. Hello, Rhonda. Everyone from Essex, Ontario. Friends with Lisa. Working Bulldogs. They bird together. I know that. Hello, Teresa Long. Teresa's a local here and one of our regular bird hike participants, her and her son Taylor, who takes a lot of great pictures. You've seen his pictures on the programs. Hello, Derek from Illinois, another real regular visitor. Mary from East Tennessee, welcome in. Carroll County, Buckeyes in over from Ohio.
Skip that one. She messed up.
Hello. Yeah, there's producer Melanie. Producer Lily decided to stay upstairs tonight. Her and Melanie, my daughter Morgan, are watching the Carolina Hurricanes hockey game right now. Joe from Massachusetts. Well, we got a good contingent from Massachusetts tonight. Absolutely. Hello, Ruth from Lee Summit. She made it home from the store tonight. She worked all day today. Welcome in. Hot here this week. All our snow has melted. It's crazy. So to get up to 52, that's incredible up where you're at. It's not normal. You're right. Like I said, 32 years, whatever we lived in North Carolina, weather was so predictable. We moved to Missouri 33 years ago, and my gosh, it is anything but predictable here in the Midwest. It's crazy. Oh, there's Taylor Long. Good evening. They're talking about your photos, and your mom checked in just before you. Thank you, Mary, for letting us know that. West Michigan, Captain, who's been posting in fantastic pictures. Thank you so much. I mean, you are a talented photographer. You went to Los Bluffs New Year's Eve after the record bald eagle count. So much fun. Folks, if you've never heard me talk about Los Bluffs National Wildlife Refuge, which is about an hour to hour and a half northwest up of Kansas City, and it's right on near the Nebraska state line, not very far south of the Iowa state line. They have topped out this past week at over 1,000 eagles on the refuge, which is amazing. The most I've ever seen. I've been going there for 33 years. It was like 330 in one day we saw a few years back, but 1,000. Man, it is crazy. If you're in anywhere in the four-state area or in close driving distance, it's something you need to experience. I mean, there's trumpeter swans all over the place. It's an amazing experience. You talk about a photographer's dream. Oh my goodness. Good. Thank you, Anna D. from North Carolina. I think you're from Raleigh up there, aren't you? Here closely, the blue jay was swallowing either a bark butterbit or peanut. Okay, you can barely see it. It really is it's a great photo. I really appreciate it. Being able to show it off. Yes, welcome newcomers. Hello, John Erickson, longtime customer of the store right here in Kansas City. And then all these people that know each other from the past lives are able to check in with each other. Stephen R. Birds, I like that name. Oh, Northeast Illinois. Just found out today that there's a bald eagle's nest really close to my house. Absolutely. The recovery of that species is amazing. It's going to be 68 in Cincinnati. Oh my goodness, this weather. And to remember what I always say, if it's bad for the birds, it's good for the bird watcher and vice versa. So if it's good for the birds, mild temperatures, it's usually bad for the bird watchers. Your feeders aren't as busy, and you really got to get out and look for them because they're not stressed and having to come to your feeders. And that's certainly what we're having this year. Hubby Todd. Well, welcome in, Todd. Absolutely. Some beautiful weather here in East Tennessee, but rain. That you're getting the rain tomorrow that we got today, Mary, because it rained and rained and rained. God, that's incredible. Oh, I mean, I've never seen that many bald eagles. That's it. That's an amazing number to me. Long Island, hello Terry, welcome in. All right, we're going to get on with the show here in just a second. Kind of Wingo Dam in Maryland. Okay, that's where those are. Yep, the bald eagle numbers are the recovery and the number of nests and things in Missouri now are amazing. But we have our resident birds, and we have quite a few resident eagles in Missouri. But these numbers now, these thousands, that kind of numbers, we get ballooned from those northern birds getting pushed down. 70 here to North Carolina. Yep.
Wow.
Saw a hawk in the yard today and 3 vultures. Yep. I think mating season is, I guess. Absolutely. Yeah, especially your way. Yeah. Like local park. We put up 20 bluebird houses. They have 15 nesting. That's awesome. That's a good occupancy rate right there. Stephen Arbors, what Illinois county are you in? I'm in Kankakee County. Yep. Your other video about open tray feeders attracting birds is right on. Yeah, but like I said, that one of the nicknames I've always heard: open tray feeders or cardinal trays, and they definitely do attract them. Excellent. Yeah, and here's a rule of thumb with me. Let me make sure I see that. I saw this Point Paley. Yeah, you've got them. I mean, they're going to be certainly that are up there, and a lot of the eagle cams are up right now, for sure. Okay, one of my rules of thumb about mild early parts of winter, what I've seen in all my years of doing this, is that typically if it's mild early and feeders are slower, they're taking advantage of all that natural food, and so they're not dependent on feeders like they normally are, and they're really, really eating heavily in nature. Well, typically in years like that or like this, the latter part of winter and early part of spring are busier at your feeders because they've played out all of the natural food from this mild section of winter. So I warn people about bird feeding and they're talking about their bird food supplies and things like that. Quite often, it's going to take off in the latter part. So whereas February can be mild or March can be mild, but that means the food supplies are running low in nature and nothing's producing the seed. So your feeders can be quite busy during that period. So, all right, let's go to the one to get started with tonight. I always talk about I always try to talk about a conservation message, and I'm going to lead with that tonight, and because I usually do it toward the end, but the first week of in February, in that first week period, is always a great backyard bird count, and put on by by Cornell and other partners, and they collect the data and people participate. They count the birds at your bird feeders. You submit the data, and it gives ornithologists and scientists a snapshot of all the birds at one time, and it's grown as tremendously popular. It is very, very helpful. And like I talked about in past about how people worry about there's no birds in their area and like it normally is, this really helps us track those kind of events. I don't have any American tree sparrows this winter. I used to have them all the time. Well, when they look at that great backyard bird count data and breeding bird Christmas bird count data, that lets them know, well, maybe those American tree sparrows didn't come down as far south as they did because the stress wasn't as high, etc. So participation in the great backyard bird count is really, really important stuff, and the way you can give back to the birds. And it's I think birdcount.org is simply the website. You go in and sign up, and you can submit your data online. It's a terrific way for you to participate in to the interest of your birds. You love them, you want to help them, submit that data so scientists can be on top of things like that. So beautiful shot of a snowy backyard. This is the opposite of what we have. This is what last January looked for us. Ground was covered pretty much all the whole month of January last year, and like I said, we're at 68 today and raining, and so no 2 years are alike. But the data is so important. Then yeah, we keep it now. Another thing, with this going on right now, the last year I had 6, 8, 10 eastern bluebirds feeding at my feeders all winter, in most of the winter, especially coming to my bird bath because it's so cold. And this is one of a male eastern bluebird eating fine, I mean medium sunflower hearts. There, they can't crack open a seed hole. So this bluebird is can eat those. They just grab it and swallow it whole, and we see that happening all around in areas that people feed holeless seed, and bluebirds move in. And the key to bringing bluebirds in, of course, is the water. And I'm not going to go very long without talking about water. You guys to follow me regularly, and these are some at my heated bird bath. At some point, I just captured this image out of a video, and water brings them in. Then they can find the food sources, whether you're putting out dried mealworms or whole sunflowers, little peanut pieces, or some blends that we sell that are really popular with them. There's Mark's No Waste blend, and then there's Rich and Tweed, and Mark's Bluebirds and Friends mix that I make up. But the key there is whole seed. If you're just putting out black gold sunflower, just putting out safflower, that's hard for bluebirds. They like I said, they can't deal with the seed holes very well. So they're primarily insect eaters and fruit eaters. So whole seed is a key for attracting everybody. Boy, there's one way for sure to make people jealous when they're in my store shopping, is whenever someone's in the store and they start talking about their bluebirds in their yard, and the customers will turn, like, how do you get bluebirds? I mean, people love bluebirds, and in winter, it's just becoming easier and easier because most of them are not going as far south as they used to. I think most of them settle in, because they don't have to. They're not forced as far south. And winters like this, when there's a real good soft mass crop, it's a great year to have bluebirds in your backyard. So. All right, hold on. I saw some people jump in right when I switched. All right, here. All right, Andrew. There's 1,000 bald eagles nests, and that is a lot. I don't know what the way the Missouri Department of Conservation does it and counts eagles' nest is they fly the state every few years. And I don't know where they are in the pattern, but they fly and count eagles' nests, and that you look at the graph, and that graph number of nests is just going and on and on and up. So we may be around that number 2, Andrew, now, and that's just so impressive. Absolutely, Kevin. Yeah, how Melanie and I grew up in Eastern North Carolina, and when we're talking about this winter, it's like, yeah, this feels like the old North Carolina winters that we used to go through. I see 100 crows. Ooh, it's like off Bannister Road. I bet they've got a roost there. Yeah, on my way home from work today. And they're probably a month now. Yep, Taylor, I bet you they've got a roosting site near there, and they're moving in. Especially like right maybe an hour before dusk or 30. You start to see them coming in and staging. You see a whole bunch of them, and they're landing in trees, and they're out in the open, and then get closer to dark, they swirl around, and then they settle into the patch of trees. And I know there was a famous one in downtown Kansas City along the river, and I had everybody who worked down there in one of the buildings near it, and he said every night sunset he'd watch those birds starting to come in, the blackbirds and the crows and things start to they call it staging before landing in their roost. Hello, SoCal. Welcome in, Frontier. All right, Southern California. I love it. About 1,000 behind our house, we have a tree line that borders our long trail. Okay. Put cranberries on. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they will use it. Oh, there's a link to the backyard bird count that Melanie put up for you, so you can check on that. Well, they compete for the same food sources, Kevin, and that's true, especially in winter. Those are and robins. You can throw robins in that as well, but they're competing for the natural fruit supplies, the soft mass crop, as we call it. And yeah, they will definitely battle over like a good tree or shrub that has the soft mass berries that they're looking for. Been on the patio all year lately. Yep. Yeah, absolute. It takes a while, especially in an area that you get a lot of moisture, especially during the time of the year. They're not going to use bird bass if they've got it, because remember, bird bass typically are out in the open and they feel vulnerable, and the closer you have them to cover, the better. But if there's natural water sources they can find within woodlands and where there's a lot of cover, they're going to take advantage of that. It's just when it all freezes over or gets really dry, but the bird bass, they're key. Bluebirds are making comeback. Yeah, I don't. They never fell to the level that eagles did in the lower 48s. But yeah, there was a lot of things that went into the bluebird decline. Of course, starlings and house sparrows were a major part, but also some really cold winters on their wintering grounds, like down into Florida and Georgia had some really bad freezes down there back in like the 40s or 50s, and really knocked their populations back. So, but yes, the bluebird nesting box program has helped with the recovery of eastern bluebirds. And that's why we promote so much not to let house sparrows nest in those bluebird boxes, because they were a major cause of them losing it. And of course, people cutting down dead trees where they nest as well. So education is the key. Ah, yes. Yeah, the West Coast people, I'm sorry this has to start, but the good thing, John, is they can watch this on replay, because it'll be up there and they can have access to it. So yeah, the West Coast people they maybe still at work. I've never seen a bluebird. Merlin has picked them up in my yard. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you guys are you're getting up there north, and I don't know what the habitat is around Uranda, but that is they like that more open country, and I'm sure you have them up there, but it may be just the immediate habitat around you may not be great for them. There's Terrell Cockerman. You got a gifted a membership tonight. We have a farmer that puts roadkill. Yes, exactly. Been trying to catch them. When he does it, last time a friend got picks, got over 10 eagles. That's correct. Yeah, I tell the story I tell is one of my real regular customers. They lived along the Little Platte River north of us, and they used to get two salvage permits, deer permits from the Missouri Department of Conservation every year, and they would be able to pick up a couple of roadkill deer, and they would put them out down along the river at the bottom of their property, and they had a spotting scope they bought from me inside their living room, and they had it always focused down on those roadkill deer, and boy, the eagles would just come in and feast on them. It's actually a pretty interesting way to feed birds, right? South Pennsylvania, Georgia. Oh, you're in Western Pennsylvania, aren't you? Slowest winter here since 22. Woodpeckers are in October. Not a single chickadee or not hatched since late fall. Wow. I mean, I don't know. I really think that has a lot to do with natural food. And it may get real busy here in the latter part of the winter. I hope so for you, Jordan. Had a few movers last week, but my feeders are getting raided by starlings. Yeah, yeah. The January is starling month in my world. I consider it. 2 weeks in December, had a big snow. Haven't seen them since. They're, if it's melted, then they're probably still there, but they're just out feeding on the natural seed supplies, millet and sunflowers. Yeah, yeah, those Coopers will discourage them, but they tend to learn to deal with them. Sandy, the famous the story of the bald eagle decline. One of there's always multiple factors, but the main one was, of course, the use of the chemical DDT. It's a farm chemical that they sprayed and killed insects, and of course the insects would die, and then fish would eat the insects, or other birds would eat insects, and then they would pass up the gene through the ecosystem, and bald eagles being a top predator, and they would eat fish. Well, the fish had eaten all these chemical laced insects, and they would pass DDT on into the tissue and system of the bald eagles. And what that did, what DDT, they finally figured out what was going on, is DDT robbed them of calcium. And whenever they would lay eggs, the eggshells would be so thin that whenever the females sat on the eggs to incubate them, they would break the eggs. And so we went for years without there be hardly any production of eagles, and we were losing them. And of course, there's a famous book out there by Rachel Carson called Silent Spring about the effect of DDTs. And of course, the chemical companies tried to discredit her and called her crazy and all that. Well, once they outlawed DDT in this country, we've seen a huge recovery, and it wasn't just bald eagles. We've seen ospreys numbers increase. We've seen Mississippi kites, swallowtail kites, even Cooper's hawks and things like that. Raptors, birds that ate either the insects directly or the animals that ate these insects. It passed through, and it was a disaster. And it took now in Canada, I mean, in northern Canada, especially in Alaska, bald eagles were never endangered because they didn't use DDT up there, and it wasn't there and present. But in the lower 48s, where the chemical was used extensively, then that's when the population just wiped out. And it took a very sophisticated and extensive hacking program to reintroduce eagles after DDT was out of the system to get their numbers back up. And that's one of the most tremendous conservation success stories out there. Rick, okay, I'll show up in a window feeder, 7:30 a.m. 12 regulars. That's great. Most are already paired up. Yeah, your neck of the word. You get further south you are, you guys are getting to the nesting season, especially down in Alabama, Mississippi, and those areas, Texas. They'll start really checking out. I know, purple martins start showing up in Louisiana in January. They start the process. So spring is already on the way especially in the bird world, for sure. I had to sing. You just said that out loud, Andrew. You better knock on wood somewhere. Hi from Georgia. Welcome in, Brandy. Starlings are still eating ornamental parrots. Oh, yes. Yeah, they will. They will eat them and spread them, unfortunately. I have a property that open fields with trees in the back. At least see bluebirds at Point Pigley at the beginning of the cold weather. I bet there's still some hanging around. Find good food. I don't know if you see cedar waxwings this time of year, but cedar waxwings, robins, and mockingbirds. That's pretty too far north. But bluebirds, they really count as. And in the fall, if you can scout out when you're out bird watching, scout out the good areas of berries, and whether it's poison ivy berries or wild grapes or cedar bushes, and then during the winter, go through and go around and check those areas. That's when you really will find things like eastern bluebirds in those areas, and robins and things eating on those things. Yeah, since millet is used as filler for many birds, I use that's the only place I recommend millet, John, is as a ground throw. Ground, and it's the primary component. It is a grain that is somewhat accepted by birds that we want. The only problem, of course, with millet is if you mix it in with good bird seed, then it really attracts a lot of house sparrows and things to your feeders. That's why I separate it out and use millet as a ground throw. Yep. Yeah. Now they're probably roosting in there. But they were. Remember, those resident birds start nesting earlier than these birds that migrate south. Starling at my house was. Yeah, that's one of my slides here. One of the things I wanted to include, of course, how many of you are hearing birds singing and vocalizing already? I was out on the deck a couple of days ago. Man, this red-bellied was sounding off. Of course, it's 60 some degrees, and so he's getting a jump on it. And cardinals are starting to sing a little bit. Carolina wrens never stop singing, but the vocalizations really started around the area, and I love this photo. It was a great picture. It captures winter at its best right there. All right. It's been ban everything. It's nice 70s. Yep. Yeah, you guys are starting to get those spring wildflowers already. And it's crazy. All right, and I always like to do in these monthly updates. I always try to do uh, an identification help because one thing, especially this time of year, especially with 1,000 bald eagles in the area right now, invariably people say, "Oh, I saw 73 golden eagles up there at Squaw Creek." No, you're seeing immature bald eagles, and I thought I might help you try to separate out how to separate out a golden eagle from an immature bald eagle. Now, overall, one of the things I can tell you, especially out here in the plains, now you guys out west that are watching, you get a lot of golden eagles. And so this doesn't apply as much to you as it does to us because we don't get very many golden eagles. And when we do, they're generally juvenile golden eagles. See, and adult golden eagles here are in this half of the country is quite uncommon. But so when we do finally see a golden eagle in the winter months out here in the plains and east, they're generally the juvenile golden eagles, like this bird pictured on the bottom. That shows the white windows in the wings, has wrists, very bright white, and the tail. Especially seeing it from underneath, but you can also see it from the back when they're perching, but very, very white, about 2/3 of the tail, and then this really dark, pretty wide band across the bottom. And bald eagles never really have this combination. Now, remember it takes 4 to 5 years for a bald eagle to reach sexual maturity, and so you'll have variations of plumages on this, like this bald eagle above. But two things to keep in mind about bald eagles versus goldens. Goldens are bigger, huskier birds overall. Southern bald eagles are one of the smaller eagles in the world, and so we look and we see how big a bald eagle is, and you think, "Oh my gosh, just one of the smaller eagles there are." But you don't see the windows in the wing. You'll see a lot of modeling underneath on a bald eagle. Rarely do you see just really uniform dark underneath. And look at the bills. And I'm going to switch to the adult picture here so you can see the adult apart. Okay, this shows really good profile. This is an adult golden. Thank you, Bobby. And this is an adult bald eagle. And of course, if you see the adult bald eagle, there's no confusion whatsoever, and I know that. But adult golden eagle, look at the difference in the sizes of the bills. While the golden eagle is a bigger, huskier bird, the bill on a golden eagle is quite a bit smaller than that huge honking bill on a bald eagle. And even when they're juvenile, of course, when they reach full adult plumage in bald eagles, it turns yellow, the white head, white tail, but the bill is bright yellow. But in young bald eagles, the size is the same, but it will be dark. So this is a good, the angle on this picture doesn't show but it showed the bill is smaller than on the fish-eating bald eagle and the golden eagle. So first off, just know that you're never going to see 70 golden eagles in Missouri or in the Midwest. There's going to be one possibly mixed in, maybe two in the winter, but they move out into the plains a little bit, but they really wander greatly. So for one to settle in somewhere would be real nice, and also habitat. Golden eagles are going to be typically out in open grassy areas. They're much more of a grassland eagle, whereas bald eagles are wetland eagles. So again, there's a clue. Now, not to say that the golden eagle can't show up in a wetland. I know that, but just typically habitat-wise, it will help you right away. So definitely look closer. And yes, this poor young bald eagle is molting heavily. How ragged he is, but that's a great capture of that. So bald eagles, golden eagles, that can be confusing for a whole lot of people, and I thought that might help a little bit. All right, And then my last slide I brought in is my creature feature for tonight, and that is the hermit thrush. This is we think of thrushes, and this is a Catharus thrush. The thrush. It is related to Voorhees and gray cheek thrush and Bicknell's thrush and Swainson's thrush and the hermit thrush. The gorgeous, beautiful songsters. Well, for most of although pretty much everybody, all those thrushes are gone for the winter, except for the hermit thrush. This is the last thrush to come through, and we find them as you see here on the snow. We really see them on Christmas bird counts. Now they're not seed-eating birds, so seeing them on a bird feeder would be quite unusual. But I can tell you, years ago, here in Missouri, I had a heated bird bath in my backyard, and three winters in a row, we had a hermit thrush who would come up and drink from the heated bird bath, and then he would go feed out had a big row of cedars, and I would see him out there scratching under there and through the winter down there. And he was so regular that some of my bird watching buddies who keep a year list every year, they would come to my yard in like the first week of January to make sure they got that hermit thrush from Missouri on their list. He was that dependable. So the probably it's funny, the bird that they get most confused with here are fox sparrows. Then because they have that real rusty tail to them, and they're overall about the size of a fox sparrow. But of course, the bills are different. You know, that thrush pointed bill versus the seed eating, and of course, the spots on a hermit thrush are just really up on the chest, where the fox sparrows have the upside down, the little arrowheads on there, making the long dark streaks on them. But they're one of the most beautiful songsters in North America, and it's kind of funny. I guess they're in the eastern part of the U.S. and really widespread all across the country. But especially when they nest up north for us, like in the Northeast and across the northern tier states, I guess they're ground nesters. And the western population out west are nest in trees. So that's kind of interesting. The same species, two different nesting strategies depending upon where they live. But they're a fun bird to see. And when you see a thrush, like that you think, oh, Swainson's are here is the most common one in migration. But remember, in winter, if you see a thrush hopping around, it is much more likely to be a hermit thrush than to be a Swainson's or a gray cheeked or a Veery and things like that. So they're for example. So that was my creature feature tonight. They're great birds. Like I said, I love hearing them sing. Will forever to me be the song of Muir Woods out in California and Yosemite, walking in this big open forest, just hearing that cascade of that gorgeous flute-like song, and it's a beautiful. Treat yourself to it. All right, so that was my creature feature tonight. So if there are any, let's see, we get to the question, back to the question board now. All right, who are you? You me sounds. All right, where were we? Okay, I'm getting to wonder if I have a hawk hanging around. Absolutely. It's easy to assume that, but really, hawks don't impact feeders consistently that bad. The birds evolve with them. So birds know Cooper's hawks and sharp-shinned hawks, and they come through, buzz the feeders, they flush, they hide. The hawk passes along, or the hawk sits still, and they tend to come back in. It is so rare for them to be the cause of a long-term absence, and it's really easy to blame that because you're looking for reasons why the birds aren't around. But I'm telling you, natural food supplies and milder temperatures are a really much greater reason why birds aren't visiting feeders most of the time. Yeah, it does sound like spring already. Yeah, and of course, like I said, there's some birds that sing all year long, like the Carolina wren, but others are already chiming in. I'm telling you, it's going to be interesting. Your cuckoo cardinal. Very soon, as he's still banging into your windows, I'm telling you, it gets crazy. You're off. You try to. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's getting warm in here. We got a little space heater in this cold room, and now I'm getting really warm. All right, the birds here in Louisiana eat all the filler seeds. The mourning doves seem to like them. Yes, and believe me, when I talk about the filler seeds, I am trying to give advice for to people that they get so frustrated with so many sparrows. They get so frustrated with a lot of the blackbirds and doves and things like that. That that's my message about separating seeds from grains. Yes, there will be, especially millet. A lot of them will eat that, but really things like milo and and cracked corn has such low value for birds. It's a low value. You're feeding them and feeding it, and the birds are eating it, but they're not getting a lot of nutrition out of it, which worries me, of course, because I'm worried about them, especially in cold conditions and warmer conditions. Not so much. Like the milo, millet, and cracked corn. That stuff's really popular in the south and southwest because they have so many dove species and they have so many quail species that really clean the ground up of that, but also a lot of the sparrows and things. But if you're looking chickadees and titmice and woodpeckers and cardinals and grosbeaks and buntings and things like that, that's where I really am talking about separating the seeds from those junk filler grains. All right.
That's just a subscribe link.
Oh yeah. All right. Yep. That's how to subscribe. Absolutely. And whenever you subscribe, they would get reminded of this. When you hit subscribe, and you hit the bell, there's a little bell for notifications, and you have to under the bell, you have to tell like all notifications. I think is what you have to do, and that way you'll know when I'm on. It should notify you. Yes, Western PA. I thought so, Jordan. Yep. There's that first big snow. That is really unusual. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if somebody's stolen your birds with a different feeder station, or if you got a lot of cover for them. There's just so many possibilities. Oh yeah, the red-bellieds. Yep, yep. I love them. They the male and females. Pair of brown creepers, excellent. I had one in the yard the other day. Red-bellied frickers frequently. Yep. Cardinals have probably been the more common at my feeders, but also chickadees and Carolina wrens. That's good. Yeah, they the feeders have. Well, okay, I'm not here all day. I'm not so I don't get to hear them see my feeders. So the blink cameras on my bird bath and the blink cameras on my now I've got it on my fly through feeder, and it's capturing like 1,000 video clips a day just on the fly through feeder alone. It's constant traffic. Well, I'm not here to see that, so I'm glad to be able to keep up with what's showing up. Hello, James Bandis. Welcome in. You're late tonight. I appreciate the coming up guy. I see the next foot. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. You understand. But that's yeah, they hermit thrushes are prize birds in winter. Birders love finding them. Those and winter wrens are two of the more prized birds we look for in the winter months here, because again they don't come to feeders, so we have to find them either in your yard, out into the bushes, or out bird watching. Absolutely. On the difference between the thrushes. I guess that's an excellent family focus I need to do, Sandy. I don't have one, and I really need to do that because the Catharis thrushes they can be pretty confusing. So Melanie, put that on the list. My producer, write down thrush video. I'm going to do that. I'm always looking for it, but I did a brainstorming thing with myself today. Got really quiet, and I was going through, and man, I just wrote a ton of ideas down for videos, and I need to add that to that list. Thank you, Sandy. The hermit thrush for the first time about 2 months ago. Lisa, all right. Wait, I noticed that. Yeah, Dale bobbing and that reddish rump. I know years ago I was leading a Christmas bird hike, doing the count at Martha Lafitte, the nature center I ran, and one of the guys on the hike, we saw hermit thrush, and he'd been doing it a long time, and he was like, "Are you sure that's a hermit thrush?" And I said, "Yes, I'm sure." And I said, two things. I said, it's the only thrush we have here in winter like that. And I said, if it was anything else, and I went through why the chest spots were different from a Swainson's and things like that. I said, look at that rufous tail. Yes, no, it's definitely a hermit thrush. So yeah, the good idea for around. You could have, Andrew. I'm telling you, especially early winter or late winter. Now, a lot of times in the harshest part of winter, they're a little further south, and you guys down south can see them in the winter, pretty much all the way through. Those little brown birds are so cute. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a reason why LBBs was a common saying in the back in the day. People would ask, "What kind of birds do you have at your feeder?" And they, "Oh, cardinals and chickadees and a lot of LBBs." They used to say. All right. Remember to hit yes, thank you, Ellie. Don't forget to hit the thumbs of the like button. And we were talking about sharing today, and I don't know. We get a lot of shares. I really, really appreciate. I know you guys are probably some of the best at it, but we were talking about shares to groups that you might be in. Like if you're in a local Audubon chapter, or you're in a nature club, or you're in a garden club, and you can share one of our videos to the members of the group. That's the way to help spread the word. I really appreciate that, Ellie. Yep. Had a cougar saw the other day ripping a house sparrow off my backyard. I haven't. Yes, it leaves a pile of feathers. Last winter, that was us with a starling in our backyard during a snowstorm. A red tail that likes my beard, my yard. Oh, that was funny because us with the bearded crew, it likes your beard. I got your yard. Sorry about that. Yep. Oh, there you go. This spring already. And James is he's been waiting patiently for Baltimore Orioles. Well, I don't know about patiently, but you've been doing they want those Orioles and Bluebirds, and you're going to get them. They're going to show up, and you're going to look out there and just think how good the celebration will be when you do see them. Sorry, I got to do this. Thank you. I was starting to get hiccups. Oh, thank you, Mark Snow Waste Blend. My name is on that bag for a reason. I truly endorse it. A little bit. It does look good. I can go too if it smelled it. And, and like I said, it's not handled with human consumption quality and all that standards and all that, but it is a great looking blend. Yeah, believe me, you should see his yard in spring where he has his feeders out, all the Orioles and the oranges, the jelly, orange streamers flying under. He has really been trying to lure those Orioles in. Mealworms, grape jelly. He has been trying very hard. Yeah, they they're pretty good mimics too. Those darn stuff. This is this time of year in the spring, early spring, people start saying, "Oh, I had common nighthawk calling." Now, you didn't have common nighthawks calling in March. You had a starling calling, and they mimic common nighthawks, and they do Bob Whites very well, and there's several there. So yeah, they really start early. Audubon Park Extreme that has a lot of sunflower seeds, and that's a fruit. Absolutely. Quality seed, and the nutritional value of that seed is very good, especially when you compare that to the grains and the cheap filler mixes. Look at the fat content on the back. Look at the protein on the back, and you'll see the difference. I mean, you're providing valuable food for them versus not so valuable food. Sure. Absolutely. The yellow they actually been coming. Don't they come to your they come to the mealworms, or was it suet you had them on? I know I've seen them in your pictures. Yeah, that's hawks can be your best friend. I had a picture in my store several years ago of a red-tailed hawk with a squirrel hanging in his talon, sitting on a tree limb somebody had taken, and we had a little board with pictures on it, and the number of people said, "Can I rent that hawk? Can I get him to come to my yard?" Yep. Oh, oh yeah, you got a lot of white in the population there. That's great. The video has the various stages, plumages of develop. Yeah, the 4 year, like, yep. Melanie's writing these down for me. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, I haven't gone into detail on the age differences. It can be tricky, but we can. I probably got all the pictures I need for that. You can't see and go on one of Herc's Millie's hikes. Yes, said if I go in the store, I'll buy. You have to rent a track. You have to rent a trailer to go back home to New Jersey with James. That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to have you all. I mean, and I know you guys. You've been so dedicated, and please come to a bird hike in our area, and God, we'd love to be able to make that happen. Because it
Maybe one day
maybe one day
we could do a tour in the United States.
we could do a U.S. tour, maybe. Yeah, some sites around, and it'd be at certain locations. Like if it did one in Pittsburgh, how many people could get there, or pick locations where maybe some of you could actually come to do a hike. Or yeah, obviously, Southern California, the Rio Grande Valley of Texas, the hot spots I talked about. But there's also just doing just a local bird hike. So we believe me, we're brainstorming on that all the time. Got a lot of activity. Good. Let me tell you, and where are you, Janet? I was just really curious as to how you got busy feeders, and a lot of people are talking about slow feeders. So just curious where you're at. Spring fever. I did a program years ago called Warbler Mania. Get the boy, it'll catch you, and it'll, you once you and Drew, who works for me and has gotten into birding, then we were out. I told you we were out the other night at a winter program and out at Smithfield Lake, and he said, "I just can't wait for spring." He said, "I love when you go on those hikes and looking for warblers and vireos and tanagers and thrushes." Yeah, spring is. Uh, it's compressed into about a good 3-week period in our area. Man, we kind of go as much as we can to our hot spots during that 3-week period.
And remember, I'm forbidden to plan a trip during that time.
Yes, last year we had to go on a trip at the end of April. It kind of infringed on that, and so Melanie just commented that she's no longer allowed to plan any kind of a trip during that period. The latter part of April, to the latter part of May, that month is off limits for us to have to be out of town. So. Do sunflowers from harvest for the birds, and the birds harvested them. Yeah, absolutely. They will take advantage of those offerings. Native landscaping, folks.
I'll put the Mark Snow Waste.
Oh, there's a link to Mark Snow Waste that James was referring to right there. If you haven't ever checked that out before, he used to come and get all. Yeah. Yeah, I wish we could do a send them back program, but they're here to stay, unfortunately. And I've got a ton of videos talking about dealing with starlings and house sparrows and blackbirds and things like that on the website, and try to help you with cage feeders, things like that can help you battle those starlings. This spring, I'm definitely getting out to Thompson Park and getting absolutely. I mean, if you can hook up with a local bird club or a local Audubon chapter that does bird hikes. You usually do them on weekends, usually on Saturdays, and join in one of those groups and take a hike. It'll be eye opening for you. Like I said, I've done so many hikes over the years, and people that have never been, they come on a hike, and they see a black Burnian warbler or whatever, and everybody's like, that bird's been here my whole life and I've never seen it. Yes. And it just light bulb goes on and you just want to do it more and more. By the way, when I rotate seed out of my fish stocks, move around there. Yes. And juncos too, John. Juncos and mourning doves love Niger on the ground. They really, really do. I've had one. I'm dreading the return of the grackles. Man, you've only had one starling so far. Whew. Yeah, and you're right. Late February, early March, the grackle and the red-winged blackbird start showing back up, and the brown-headed cowbird starts showing up. That's that season. Not really look forward to that. That's for sure. I do ship, absolutely, and James will testify to that. I've shipped a lot to New Jersey over the years. Yes.
Jen.
Close to the airport. Your feeders are busy. Good. Absolutely. Another 30, 40 American goldfinch mob. That nice. With the number of finch feeders you have out, James, the food available for them, I bet you once they find your yard, you'll get them year after year after year now. Cloud go up. Absolutely. And be looking in those flocks for pine siskins and red poles in your area in the winter. They'll be mixed in with those goldfinch flocks a lot of times. So keep looking for those. Good order. I know,
We
Rhonda.
keep checking into it. It's so expensive.
Shipping to Canada. Oh, Melanie, the accountant over here, she looks into that. Oh, I wish we could too, Rhonda. I mean, our Ravens in Cincinnati. Possibly. I know usually in the eastern part of the country, ravens are more into higher elevations, but I don't know. Like I said, we didn't. I don't know if we didn't have them in Pittsburgh, so I wouldn't think so. And it's so deceiving in winter. You see a fluffed up crow, and you think that, but look, you have to look at that big honking bill on a raven. They're just so much bigger than a crow. A white pigeon, never saw one before. Yep. Yeah, that's someone's escape bird, or it's like I said, a racing pigeon. It's all kind of tumbler pigeons. All kind of the pigeon bird world is really, really huge. And usually, you can call your local conservation department, and they keep a list of the pigeon club numbers on. And if you've got, they can hook you up with them, and you can check with them if you want. If it stays around a long time, house sparrows coming in the bird, and they do about them. Cardinals are scared of them. Yes, Joe. And I got a couple of recent videos on the YouTube channel about dealing with house sparrows. One just about a month ago. You might want to check out. I don't know if Melanie can find a link and put it on there. But yeah, if you search, if you're a member of the YouTube channel and you go to the home screen and search my channel for videos, you type in house sparrows, it'll bring you up probably 8 to 10 videos I've done about house sparrows and battling house sparrows and bluebird boxes and feeders and things like that. Hopefully. Ate all the suet. Yep. Have not made more warmer weather. Fire. Ugh. Yes, we don't have to deal with fire ants here, but I know what you're talking about there.
Dealt with them plenty.
Yay for every Thursday night. Thank you again. Yeah, thank you guys for encouraging it. We've been through it out there, and people have mentioned it before. So this is also easier to tell people. When we talk about our videos, instead of having to say every other Thursday night and the other Thursday nights, so we're going to do this every Thursday night live for a good while. So yeah, we're getting to the wrap up time. Do you ship through Costco? And
ship time? Yeah, I've never heard of that. I put that on my list.
Melanie's already written it down on her list to check it out. Thank you for the suggestion. I thought that was, I have never heard of that. Can we expect weekly live? Yes, you can, Justin. Every Thursday night, unless of course there's some conflict of something. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to try to do this every Thursday night. So.
And we're going to try to send out a weekly reminder.
Yes.
Email from us. And try to get it on this website calendar.
And the community page.
And the community page and all things. So
we're trying to get the notification out there. And you guys help spread the word too. You always do. We really thank you. Absolutely.
And don't hesitate to remind me if you don't get a reminder.
Yeah, let us know, because we're trying to figure out. Some people don't get the reminders, and we've been working on that for a while. Oh, I appreciate that, Joe. Exactly. Well, I mean, and I love the way, like I said, you guys talking back and forth to each other and saying hi, and you're on here with people that share your interests, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Link to the picture I got it. Oh, excellent, Taylor. Yep. And believe me, you've seen a lot of Taylor's pictures in my programs over the last year for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, the gray-tailed grackles. There are some of those that nest up there, and they are huge. Yeah, that's about one of the most dependable places in the state of Missouri to get them up there, Taylor, is at Los Blues. Those bullying the Cardinals. Got tapped. Yeah, the birds will defend themselves. Those are the pecking order, as we call it. Thank you, Kate. Thanks for joining in. Like I said, it's hopefully you're enjoying it. We just see you another tour.
The store.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Maybe I can do that this weekend.
New stuff coming in all the time. So yeah, another just tour. She did the last one. Did a great job of it. Thank you, James. Started last year to bring Michigan. Absolutely. Don't ever leave home without your binoculars. That is my rule. It always has been. My brother, I used to fish with my brother-in-law, and he, and once I got really into it, we leave to go out. I'd have my binoculars around my neck and said, "Oh, you're going to do more bird watching than fishing today." And yeah, that was usually true once I got hooked. See you next time. Thank you for being in there, Stephen R. Birds. I love it. You both, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining in Anna D. All right. See what live does to your algorithm. It really is. I've got a lot of ideas. I've expanded my list of guests I'm going to try to have on. I've got to plan out a series on endangered species. I've got a series on extinct species like this guy here, the Carolina parakeet, and yes, and ivory-billed woodpecker. I'm going to talk about that. Rick suggested that this last week. So, man, keep sending in those ideas because I'm loving it. You're very welcome. Next time. And again, if you missed any part of it, if you joined in later, anything, you can always watch the lives. They're on the replay. So, guys, thank you so much. You're Mark's New Yard Tour feeder station. There's an idea. We can do that. Yeah, I'm kind of changing things around a little bit, Jordan. So yeah, when I get it all kind of settled. Yes, we're going to do an ivory build. We're going to talk about that. Yep. Wear it proud, Andrew. We are all bird nerds. You're welcome. Thanks, Jane Carroll, for joining in with us. Guys, as always, so much fun. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back on next week. That's not 2 weeks again now. So new video on Monday night, live next Thursday night. We'll see you. Until next time, let's talk birds.